Hello friends, it's Cassie here. Welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be playing with some Simon Hurley Create Lunar pastes. You guys know I love this stuff. This is a newer color. It's called Prom Queen, and then we have this grand greenery stencil, and we also have these sketched florals. I've used this once before, but I love this, and I love the sentiments on here. Some beautiful flowers that Simon has sketched out for us, and they're just lovely. So I've got a piece of black cardstock. This is cut down a little smaller than an A2 size front, and I'm going to go ahead and tack my black cardstock down to the back of our grand greenery stencil. And then I'm going to open up this amazing Prom Queen lunar paste. This stuff is vibrant and beautiful, and I know not everybody's a pink fan, but if this doesn't make you smile, I don't know how to help you. Because this stuff is so pretty. I think it's pretty on white, and it is super stunning on black. And so I thought I just really want to play with this stuff on some black cardstock, and let's see where this goes. So I will say this took a turn in a good way. It took a turn. This is not how I necessarily envisioned it, and you'll see as we go along. But here you have it. So I'm going to peel back the stencil and check it out. It is so vibrant on that black, and it's beautiful. So I'm going to go and clean that off, and then I'm going to bring in my heat tool because I don't have all day to craft. I mean, I do, but I have a lot of projects I have to work on. So I'm going to use my heat tool, but the trick here, if you can't let it sit and dry on its own, the trick is to use it on a low setting and keep your heat gun moving. This stuff will work fine. If you notice it's starting to bubble, that definitely means you're staying in one place a little too long. But just keep moving that. I think I did this for, I don't know, maybe a minute or so on that low setting, even doing it on the back and keeping my heat tool moving. I didn't have an issue. I like to let it sit and dry on its own, but I also have cats, and I really wanted to get this going. I had this idea in my head, and so we needed to get playing. So I'm just going to keep doing this for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to kind of test it with my fingers very carefully. I'm not just like mashing my fingers on it. And when I find that I can touch it, I think we're ready to move on. So I'll clean up that mess. And here's where I decide I wanted to bring in some of the slippery when wet. I thought originally I was just going to blend this using a blending tool, a mini ink blending tool. I thought I would blend this just on the edges. And I like how that looks. I think that looks really, really cool. It kind of gives it a like a aged look. And once I got started, I thought, what would that look like to go in a little further? And how would that affect the Prom Queen lunar paste? Well, I'll tell you what, I like it. And you can wipe some of that away if you don't, wait too long. You could probably use like a damp baby wipe, not like a crazy wet baby wipe, to move that off of your Prom Queen if you were concerned about it. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill this entire piece in. And this, when you blend it, dries right away. I mean, it dries very, very quickly. It looks like it's super wet, but I promise you it's not. That's just the shimmer that is in this lunar paste. This stuff is so creamy if you've never used it before, and it just goes on so beautifully. It's like so creamy. And that shimmer. Oh, that shimmer, right? It is like making my heart go pitta-patta. I'm telling you. So I'm going to clean up this mess. I love how that looks. It's like this tarnished, I don't know. It's so cool. Just love it. That's not how I planned to go, but we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep playing. I'm bringing in the next color, which is the triple berry, and I want to do some splatters. So that's another thing you can do with these lunar pastes. You can, as I did, put it through a stencil and use it with a palette knife. And I didn't put it on crazy thick, but it definitely has texture. You can obviously also blend it on with a mini ink blending tool. You can splatter with it. And I'll show you what that looks like on there. It's subtle, but I love that Prom Queen and that triple berry together. It's very pretty, just adds a little something, something to it. And now I'm going to do some stamping. So I'm going to grab out a waterproof ink. This one is the Ink on 3 Blackout ink. And I'm going to stamp my vase. That vase comes from the sketched Florals. So I'll stamp that out. And I originally was going to stamp that flower, but couldn't get that to fit the way I wanted to. So I thought the greenery would just be better. So I'm going to stamp that out on our stark white cardstock using the same ink. And then I decide I'm going to watercolor this, but I'm not going to watercolor it with the traditional inks. I'm going to watercolor it with the Lunar pastes. So I've brought in some clear skies, and I'll put a little bit of water down on my glass mat, and then I pounce that color in there just to make sure that I get all the chunks cleaned out. And I don't need a lot of this. I just want it for the vase to give it a little bit of a blue tint just on the edges. And that's very, very subtle. I'll clean that up, and then I'm going to pull out our later Gator, squirting a little water on my glass mat, grab a chunk of that, and then mash that into the water, just kind of working it around so that it turns into more of a paint rather than a paste. And then you can paint right with that. Now keep in mind, this stuff is not completely translucent. It will be a little bit opaque. So it will, not completely cover your lines. That's why I diluted it with water, but you'll definitely be able to tell that this stuff is not completely translucent. But it does add this shimmer that is like none other. And I don't even think that the camera does a very good job of picking it up, but I will try to show you after we're done here. I'm just coloring all of those little leaves, and I discovered that there's a lot of cute little berries on there as well. So once I'm done coloring the leaves, I'm going to bring in the Prom Queen one more time. And I'm not diluting this with water. I'm going to just stick that right on those little berries, just put a dot of each one, and that stays nice and vibrant. And then when we're done with that, I'll show you what that looks like. But check out that shimmer. Woo! Now we gotta fussy cut everything out, which doesn't take a whole lot of time. And you could just stick your greenery right behind your vase, but I decide I'm going to use my X-Acto knife and just cut a little slit in the top of our vase, and then I'll stick my greenery right into that. Now there is a way you could have probably just masked and stamped that down, but I decided this is how I was going to do it. I'll ink up my sentiment, which is the word hugs, and that comes from the sketched florals, and I'll stamp that down and then fussy cut that out. And then I do have a card base here. It's more of that stark white cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and get that ready. That measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I am scoring it at 4.25 inches. So this will be a side folding A2 size card. And this is a little bit smaller, so I am going to have some white on the left and right hand side. I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue to put that on my background. Yes, it's a little warped right now, but once that's put down, you're not going to be able to tell. That liquid glue helps. But the texture on that background, wow, I love it. I wish y'all could just see this in person. I stuck down my sentiment over the top of my vase, and then I went ahead and added a bunch of 3D foam squares on the back. And then I'll stick this down to the front of my card base. And check it out. That's going to finish off our card. So much shimmer, so much texture, and I am in love. Mama likey. So if you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Big thanks for all your support, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.